I've been a startup founder for over a decade now, and I've learned some things along the way that are helpful when it comes to starting your own company. But before we get into how these lessons can help you succeed as an entrepreneur, let's first talk about why they're important. When you do something, you got to do it well. If you've ever worked in a startup and made a mistake, or if you've been in any kind of business for any amount of time, then chances are good that someone has told you not to make that mistake again. This is because mistakes are hard to recover from and can cost your company money and resources. They also show that there are still gaps in your knowledge or skill set which might be difficult or impossible for other people, or yourself, to fill in on their own, and thus could lead them down the same path as well. So rather than just trying one more time after making an error at work, or elsewhere, why not learn from those mistakes instead? It's a zero-sum game. The concept of zero-sum refers to situations in which one person's gain comes at another's expense. For example, if you buy a ticket to see your favorite band perform and then sell it for $5, you've made money, but your friend who bought a ticket can't see the show because she didn't pay enough for hers. In business, it's important to understand this concept because startups are often competing with other companies for profit or market share. If one startup has an advantage over its competition because it offers lower prices or better services, then there will be less profit available for everyone else and less money spent on advertising campaigns by those companies who do not have this advantage, and therefore must spend more. The things you think are the least important are actually the most important. The things you think are the least important are actually the most important. This is a typical startup founder motivational video, but it's also something that applies to all of us in life. There are so many things we want to do but don't because they seem like too much work or effort required, even though it would be good for us and our loved ones if we did them. In reality, though, the things you think are the least important, tend to be really valuable. They're often what make us feel fulfilled as human beings, and therefore better people. I'm certainly guilty of this. If I had spent more time doing my favorite hobby back when I was younger than reading blogs on how entrepreneurs make money online, well, maybe my business wouldn't exist today at all. You're either gonna be good at time management or bad at time management, but it's not gonna be neutral. There are two options. You can either be good at time management or bad at it, but it's not gonna be neutral. If you want to be good at it, then you have to decide whether or not that's something that's important for your startup, and if so, how much of an impact does it have on your ability to execute? That's one of the things I've been struggling with. How much value does my time management expertise add in terms of getting stuff done? If we think about the way businesses work today and how fast things move these days, we're no longer building companies on our own timetable anymore. We're building them by following other people's schedules and meeting deadlines. So there was a lot more pressure when I came out here as an entrepreneur than there is now, because there wasn't really anyone else who could help me out if something went wrong. It makes sense though, because everyone else has their own lives too. Your life is going to be filled with constant distractions. You are gonna procrastinate constantly. The distractions of your life are going to be constant and relentless. You are going to procrastinate constantly, and you are also going to find yourself getting sidetracked with other projects. The first thing you need to do is focus on one thing at a time. Don't multitask. It's all too easy for us humans, and especially entrepreneurs, to get distracted by something else if we don't take the time to think about what we're doing next step before starting another project or task in our lives. If there's something important that needs doing, like writing down your goals, write it down first so that when the time comes along again later on in life when these things become relevant again, or even just because, then having them all written down will help guide your thoughts toward achieving those goals instead of being lost somewhere between work deadlines and social obligations. We all want to do good work. We all want to live a life of meaning. I have worked on projects where the people involved were passionate about their work, but often it wasn't clear what they were passionate about. They had a clear vision for the project, but not necessarily for themselves. I've also seen companies with great product and technology that didn't seem to know how to communicate with their customers or partners effectively. This can be very frustrating when you're trying hard to explain something complex in plain English and your partner just stares at you blankly because he doesn't understand what makes your product so great. The point is, we all want to do good work, we all want our lives of meaning, but sometimes we don't see ourselves doing those things as much as others do, especially if there are other things competing for our time and attention, which there always are. If you find something that you really love doing, then the ability to not think about it as work at all is critical, because otherwise you're gonna burn out quickly. If you find something that you really love doing, then the ability to not think about it as work at all is critical, because otherwise you're gonna burn out quickly. I'm not saying that if you're working on a hobby project or project with your friends, or even if it's just personal goals, that it can't be hard. It certainly can be difficult. But if there is no challenge in your life, then what are we all here for? Truly great mentors notice things and care about the person deeply enough that they can give them specific advice that is tailored to their personality. Mentors are important in life. They can help you with your career, they can help you with your personal life, and they can give you advice on how to get to the next level of success. Most people don't realize this until it's too late, but there are only a few truly great mentors out there who really know what it takes to be successful at anything. And even though we all want someone who understands us, there's nothing more frustrating than working hard for years only for a friend or family member not understand what drives our passion and ambition as entrepreneurs. A mistake repeated more than once is a decision, once told by Paulo Coelho. Mistakes are part of the learning process. We all make mistakes, and it's important to learn from them. A mistake repeated more than once is a decision, Paulo Coelho. While there are many reasons why we should avoid making the same mistakes over and over again, there are also some benefits to keeping our mistakes in mind when trying something new. By remembering your previous experiences with similar situations and their outcomes, you can better prepare yourself for any future challenges that might arise during operation or growth phases of your startup journey. Don't put off important things for too long. Don't put off important things for too long. Don't procrastinate. Procrastination is the thief of time, said one famous proverb. Being afraid of failure or trying something new can keep you from doing what needs to be done today so that you don't have to deal with it later on in your life, and probably regret it. But if there were no risk of failure or rejection, there would also be no reward either, and who wants that? Don't be afraid to fail. Failure is an inevitable part of life as an entrepreneur and even one day as an employee too. You may think this sounds like a contradiction, but hear me out. Even if your startup fails, which happens, there are still lessons learned and knowledge gained from each experience that will help improve future endeavors down the road, or at least make them less painful. Plus, failing isn't always bad news either. Sometimes failing means learning more about yourself than ever before, so when things start going well again, maybe next time around all those lessons will come together faster than expected. With so many distractions in our lives, it's easy to forget that there's a purpose behind everything we do. We need to remember that and make sure we keep it front and center of our minds at all times. Remembering this will help you stay motivated in the long run by keeping you focused on what matters most, doing great work.